Welcome to the Rally Chronicles. I'm Nancy Harris-Bonk, COO and VP of Chronic Migraine Awareness, here with Cat Charret-Dykes, who is the president and founder of Chronic Migraine Awareness. We're going to have a candid conversation about how CMA started and Cat's life with migraine disease. Welcome, Cat. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey?
Oh, my journey. It's a story. I didn't get diagnosed with chronic migraine until 2003. It was a long time though trying to get that diagnosis. The first time that I could say that I really noticed that something wasn't right was after I had my son in 1995, and I went to my doctor about it, and he said, "Maybe your ponytail is too tight." And I was like, great, thanks for that help. I could have figured that out on my own if it was my ponytail. And then I started going to different doctors. I happened to be on medical leave already when I was working at this hospital, Booth Memorial. Now it's New York Presbyterian, I think. And they, because I was out on medical leave, they wanted to know what was wrong with me, and they ran me through it was a hospital, so they ran me through every test they could think of. They found nothing wrong with me. They never said it was migraine. So I just went on about my life. I went to allergists and chiropractors and dentists and whatever else I could find. Finally, I went to a neurologist, and they told me, oh, it was epilepsy. And then I said, well, epilepsy, it's a serious diagnosis. I want to make sure I get a second opinion before I do that. And my second opinion said, it's not epilepsy, it's anxiety. And I said, okay, let me get a third opinion. And the third opinion was something else. It was like, oh, maybe it's MS. And I'm like, okay, it's not MS either. I don't have any of those other symptoms. So it just went on. And then until it was actually my sensei. I was taking, martial arts, Kempo martial arts. And, I started wearing sunglasses into the dojo. And he's like, oh, maybe you have a migraine. And I was like, I don't think so, because I've had one before. I had one when I was like 1982. It was one that I knew was a migraine, and it was I felt the stabbing pain in my head, and then I was blind peripherally. I couldn't. It was like literally tunnel vision, and my left hand went numb, and that was definitely something. Everything that I had been experiencing after that was not the same. So how could that be a migraine? So again, it's a long convoluted story, but when it comes to by 2009, I was completely disabled. I had to quit my job at the dojo, which I loved,
And just for those who don't know, aren't involved in martial arts, what's a dojo and what's a sensei?
The sensei is the instructor, the chief instructor, and the dojo is the school, the classroom, the training room.
Mm-hmm.
But he had lived with migraine his whole life, so he was very familiar with it. And from there, I went to urgent visit, and they said yes. They confirmed it was a migraine. They tried to treat it with Topamax, which, if you know Topamax, it's not an easy med to take. It didn't help me at all, but I ended up going to a neurologist and confirmed the migraine diagnosis. But by this time, I was chronic. Mm-hmm. And
can I ask if because a lot of practitioners start people on Topamax, but they start them out like at 100 milligrams twice a day. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the dose was that you took?
They started me out, I want to say it was like 25 milligrams.
Oh, all right. So I mean, the best way, or the way it was designed for migraine, is to start low and slow, 25 milligrams for a week. If that goes good, then add another week. But the majority, no, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people who start Topamax too high of a dose aren't able to stay on it because of the side effects.
Yeah, the side effects are brutal. No, what they did was they started me out on 25, and then maybe went to 75, and then they went up until I was at the maximum dose, and then they said, all right, this isn't working, let's take you off that. And then we did the same thing with gabapentin. Okay, we'll start you with this. Okay, and this is like going on now. Every drug takes 3 months because you got to go on it, and then you got to wean off of it. And this went on for a long time. I said by 2009, it was so bad that I was looking for anything. And what really started me on my road to advocacy was that I found a clinical trial for a peripheral nerve stimulator. And basically what we have out now today, we have Cephaly and Nervio and things like this that will work outside the body. But this was an implanted device that has a pacemaker battery was in my chest on this side. Now it's on this side because during my trial, it had gotten infected and they had to pull the whole thing out and they had to put the whole thing back in again. So I have scars on this side and matching scars on this side. I think you can see the wire going up behind my ear.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, and then it goes down into my chest. Battery is over here. So it goes up here behind my neck and behind my ear. And it's sort of, if people know what a TENS unit is, the way I explain it mostly to people is that it's sort of like having an AM FM radio in the sense that you have different frequencies that you can choose that they can program. And then there's AM FM. So and then you have these different stations that are pre-programmed that are supposed to give you relief. In my case, none of that worked. And it was, not to say that it was a failure because they definitely told me they learned a lot from me. So I was very happy that if anybody could learn something from me, if they could prevent any kind of pain, then that's what I was about. And I learned from this that I could become an advocate about chronic migraine and, again, prevent people from having to make some of the pitfalls that I did.
Right. And how did CMA start?
So in 2009, when I had to quit the dojo, I started going on Facebook and just looking for people to see, what was going on with chronic migraine, if anybody else was having the same issues, what treatments they were having, whatever kind of thing I could find. And mostly what I found were there were people that were living with migraine and then were living with chronic migraine. And the people that were living with chronic migraine, it's just a different set of problems that you have than just the occasional episodic migraine. And it sounds terrible just saying just episodic, but when you're living with migraine days, 15 or more, or for me, it was 30 every single day and, a high level of pain. I really equated it to being a prisoner of war. Not to diminish prisoners of war at all, not to disrespect them at all. I just felt like this is what it must be like for them to know every day that they're going to call for you and they're going to torture you. And it's going to be horrible and it's going to be painful and there's nothing that you could do to make it stop.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And again, not to diminish people who are, who've been in war and veterans and all that.
Right. If anything, I have more respect and more honor for them because if this was any glimpse of what it must be like for them.
Right. To live day in and day out with pain and you're going to wake up the next day and then not having any way to combat it and have the medical professionals say, well, there's nothing more we can do or just take a pain reliever, that it just combats the issue.
Well, that's what it was. I got to the point where they did refer me to pain management. And pain management started putting me on oxycodone. And they started out a little bit. And then by the time, by 2013, they had maxed me out on it. And then he said, well, you're not getting any better. So I'm not writing you any more prescriptions. So now I am, probably been on this maybe 2 or 3 years of maximum, 30 milligrams, pill, 90 pills, 90 milligrams. I forget what it was, the dosage, but it's not something you just want to cut off. Again, it's something that needs to be weaned, and he was not going to wean me. He was cutting me off. And then my therapist, my psychiatrist retired. And it was only because I started CMA that somebody, because of the connections that I had made, referred me to a doctor, a true pain management that knew how to deal with migraine and, brain disease. And, I was able to go on IV DHE. It was this cocktail mix that was horrible, but it was 3 days a week for 6 hours a day for 3 weeks at a time. So it was brutal. I'm again, not to diminish people with cancer, but I felt like I was getting chemo, like I was hooked up to an IV bag and anyway, but it did save my life, literally. I mean, and going back to how I started CMA, which was the question, going on Facebook and finding those people that were looking for the same problems, and so we started gathering people up, sort of like Dorothy going to the woods, on the yellow brick road, come on, I'm going there too, follow me. And we just sort of joined together. And then we realized that we did have this common bond and we did have this common problem. And it was more than just a migraine or episodic migraine. And here we are now, here we are.
Right. Almost 10 years later,
10
in
years.
2022, we'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to. We'll have some big plans we can announce later.
Yeah.
But what have you found the most rewarding part of being the founder of Chronic Migraine Awareness?
I mean, it's incredibly rewarding and honoring to have so many people work for me, with me, like yourself. Everybody that was working in CMA Inc. is a volunteer. Nobody gets paid. I'm still a volunteer. I'm still not getting paid. Migraine takes so much out of you, and chronic migraine especially, that we live with the spoon theory. How many spoons it would take you to do this, that, anything. These people are giving me their spoons.
Right.
Every spoon is so precious and so important, but they see too the value of what we're doing and what's needed. So I think that to me is the most honoring, that people will give up that energy for this cause.
Yes, wonderful. We have a great team that's working with us to promote awareness. And the mission of Chronic Migraine Awareness is to amplify the voice of the chronic migraine community. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and we'd love for you to connect with us. Our website is chronicmigraineawareness.org. And thank you, Kat, for your time.
Thanks, Nance. You did a great interview.
Have a good day. Thank you.